news from ITN.
Major says Gulf peace depends on Saddam. Bush warns the Allies are ready. Prince Charles visits the desert rats and praises their high morale. Cheltenham's Conservative candidate says he will defeat party rebels. And Brian Robson booked on his comeback, but Manchester United still win. Good evening. John Major is on his way home from Washington tonight after declaring that he and President Bush were entirely of one mind over the Gulf crisis. He said only a complete and unconditional withdrawal by Iraqi troops from Kuwait could prevent war. President Bush said Allied troops were ready to hit President Saddam's forces at 10 minutes' notice.
Morning. John Major seems delighted with his visit. It's all been absolutely splendid, he said, as he emerged with President Bush today. And on the Gulf in particular, there's said to be total agreement.
I think we're both still hoping that there will be a peaceful resolution. But I am convinced that Saddam Hussein hasn't gotten the message yet for some odd reason.
If he moves out, there won't be a conflict. If he doesn't, well, he knows what the consequences may be.
Clearly, this united stand on the Gulf has helped John Major achieve a key part of this visit, to re-establish the special relationship enjoyed by Mrs. Thatcher. But the hard question remains as he returns to Britain. Is John Major prepared to back up his hard words with action?
We have done everything we can to make him believe. The message has been repeated time and time again. The Secretary of State, Jim Baker, has been prepared to go to Iraq and see him face to face, so there's no conceivable doubt. He has dodged that invitation time and time again over recent weeks. We can only make the position entirely clear to him. If he doesn't understand that, then he will learn the reality in due course.
American public opinion is split at the prospect of war, and there are those who say all this fighting talk is no more than propaganda. But from everything the two leaders have said, during this visit, America and Britain have moved closer to war in the Gulf. Peter Allen, ITN, Washington.
The Prince of Wales has visited the desert front line in Saudi Arabia, bringing presents and praise to British troops. He took gifts of videotapes to the men of the Queen's Royal Irish Hussars, and he praised their professionalism and morale.
Even for royalty, there's only one means of travelling in this desert. Prince Charles seeing for himself the Challenger tanks of the 7th Armoured Brigade. The Queen's Royal Irish Hussars, 650 men, are camped in this lonely desert spot. Prince Charles's visit to the Hussars, the regiment who won battle honours at El Alamein, was to show that they may be isolated here, but that they haven't been forgotten by people back home. He told them he was deeply impressed by the commitment of the individual soldiers.
Highly professional, and I personally have every confidence in the way they perform. They always do perform brilliantly, I think.
The troops told him they were having problems with their army boots.
You buy your own.
And he even talked through some of the problems of the Scorpions.
The best thing, it's always important to shake your boots out.
Yeah. The troops passed on a Christmas card with strict instructions.
Am I allowed to open?
No, take it home, sir. Give it to your wife.
Yeah, all right, I will. Thank you very much.
But behind the laughter, there is no hiding the deadly serious nature of the work here. The danger and the threats are always present.
President Gorbachev has given Moldavia's leaders 10 days to control ethnic violence or risk direct rule from Moscow. Earlier, the head of the KGB, Vladimir Khrushchev, said blood may have to be spilled to restore order to the Soviet Union. Cheltenham's Conservative candidate, John Taylor, says he's confident he can defeat the latest attempt by party rebels to oust him. Some members of the local constituency are angry they were given no choice of candidate.
Cheltenham Conservative Association officials say they're confident Mr Taylor will remain their candidate, even if it's decided to rerun the selection procedure. But the organiser of the petition calling for a fresh selection says the fact that he raised 50 signatures so easily from local Tories means they want another choice, and he denies he's being racist.
Not at all. He's a very fine man, well-qualified candidate, and I want Mr Taylor to stand against a local candidate.
Mr Taylor says he's happy for the association to decide, but he's confident of victory.
These matters are a diversion as far as I'm concerned. I'm getting on with the business of shopping in Cheltenham, buying a house in Cheltenham and settling down in Cheltenham. And I like Cheltenham very, very much. I'm very, very encouraged.
But Bill Galbraith, who stirred ill feelings about Mr Taylor's selection by making a racist remark, says he's received hundreds of letters of support. Though the selection will be settled finally next month, the bitter controversy it has raised won't readily subside.
And now, with news of Brian Robson's return to league football and the rest of the day's sport, here's Giles Smith.
A dramatic day of soccer with 12 sendings off tonight sees Liverpool 7 points clear at the top of the First Division, with second-place Arsenal playing tomorrow. But it wasn't easy for the champions. Ray Houghton's winner over Southampton came with just 10 minutes to go. Ian Wright got Palace's second against high-flying City. They stay third. Paul Walsh got both for Spurs in a match of 3 sendings off, Naeem and Van den Houw for Tottenham and Hughes of Luton. An historic winner for Brian Deane as United got their first league victory of the season. Former England skipper Brian Robson played his first full game of the season today and led Manchester United to a 3-1 win at Wimbledon.
Robson's return got off on the wrong foot when Wimbledon struck first. McGee couldn't get through, but Fashionu's soft shot could. Things went from bad to worse, Robson clumsily fouling Krasinski and receiving a booking for his trouble. But the former England skipper inspired a second-half fight back, winning a penalty at Fashionu's expense. Bruce converting, but only just. Then came a moment of sheer excellence from Mark Hughes, outfoxing the defence before producing this. And when Curl was dismissed for this challenge on the Welshman, Bruce sealed United's first ever win at Wimbledon. Mark Hall, ITN Sport, Cow Lane.
In Scotland, Jim Bett scored twice as second-placed Aberdeen came back from 2-0 down against leaders Rangers. In Rugby League, Bradford Northern were firm favourite for today's Regal Trophy semi-final at Headingley, but they had to work hard to overcome a spirited challenge from Rochdale Hornets.
Rochdale's only bright spot in an otherwise dismal league season was the thrashing of Bradford. Today they hope to do the same in the semi-final of the Cup. They started hopefully enough, but Garrity was pulled into touch. Very soon the big Bradford forwards got into gear, only to be denied this time by Whitfield, who shoveled the ball to safety. The tide couldn't be held much longer. Cowie lost control near his line, and all Fairbank had to do was to grab the ball and fall over to touchdown. There was a consolation penalty for Rochdale, but it was clear by now they were outclassed. Bradford secured their place in the final, with their second try coming when Hobbs and Simpson neatly combined for Marchant to set up Shelford. The final score, Rochdale 2, Bradford Northern 13. Jim Buchanan, ITN Sport, Headingley.
Cool Ground won the Coral Welsh Grand National with a superb round of jumping at Chepstow. He beat the 2-1 favourite Carrick Hill Lad by 7 lengths. Cool Ground was second to Bonanza Boy in this race 12 months ago, but today, last year's winner trailed by 25 lengths and was pulled up. Trainer Reg Ackhurst never had any doubts about Cool Ground's ability to win and confirmed his interest in the Aintree Grand National with his horse quoted at 16-1 favourite for the big one.
Finally, a 9-year-old girl has spent the day singing carols with her sister after waking from a deep coma in time for Christmas. Nicola Webber was unconscious for 2 months after being hit by a car.
Nicola Webber awoke from an 8-week coma in time for Christmas, and it's all thanks to younger sister Gemma. Where staff at Bassetlaw District Hospital had toiled in vain to revive her, 4-year-old Gemma applied an age-old tonic. She climbed into bed for a cuddle.
Talked to Nicola, and Nicola kept saying that she loved me, didn't you, Nick? Yeah.
Nicola's parents, Janet and Mick, could not believe their ears. She'd been knocked over by a car near her home, and they'd not dared raise their hopes that she'd fully recover.
It's the best Christmas present anybody could wish for. We haven't even bought one another a Christmas present because there's nothing we want now. We've got our Nicola back.
Now Gemma and Nicola are planning Christmas on the ward, getting into practice with a few family favourites.
When Santa got stuck up the chimney, achoo, achoo, achoo.
Eric McInnes, ITN in Nottinghamshire.
And that's the news this evening. ITN is on the air throughout the night. I'm back at 1 o'clock tomorrow. From all of us, good evening.